Good morning, I'm Jessica Lovell, and today we bring you an encore presentation of one of our very favorite episodes. Our team is working behind the scenes right now to bring you more amazing stories when our live programming returns in February. If there is an urgent update from the health system, of course, we'll be right here and let you know first. Until then, please enjoy this encore presentation and make it a great day.
Coming up today, 4 people in need plus 4 willing donors equals one giant effort to connect them all. The life-saving kidney chain and the selfless donor who made it possible. Good morning, I'm Alexis Del Cid in for Jessica Lovell. Welcome to the Morning Medical Update. We all know that organ donations save lives. And of course, many of us would give up a kidney to save a loved one. We do stories on that frequently. But would you give up a kidney to save a complete stranger? Jessica Lovell and I had the pleasure of meeting 4 kidney donors and 4 recipients. They are all connected by one person's act of selfless generosity. This is a story with so many connections, it takes 2 of us to tell it.
I never thought I'd be on this side, of the street, so to speak.
When 44-year-old April Nussin found out she was in kidney failure and needed a transplant, her best friend of 44 years, Susan Bruff, said, "Take one of mine."
Her dad and my dad were best friends, and I don't remember any childhood memory without her.
She had to drop 70 pounds, quit smoking, and she did.
It was a no-brainer. I've never made a decision so quickly in my life.
Both were so hopeful and then so crushed when, after all that, they learned Susan was not a match.
It was a gut punch, a big gut punch.
But 1 week later, these best friends got an unexpected call. April had a donor, a complete stranger, if she and Susan wanted to be part of a kidney chain. Susan said, heck yeah.
I even offered my liver up. I was just like, hey, you can take part of my liver if you need it to.
Did they say yes?
They didn't call. They're like, you shouldn't probably give away so many body parts at one time, so.
It was a similar call to married couples, Tracy and Jeff Shearer, and Stephanie and Chris Loveless, asking did they want to be part of a kidney chain.
I'd never heard it before we got into it. Had you heard of it? Mm-mm. I'd never heard of it.
I kind of thought was that like the New York Stock Exchange, or the exchange, which it really is.
Well, maybe not quite, but through the Center of Transplantation at the University of Kansas Health System, kidney chains are a common way to help people who need a kidney, have a willing donor, but the donor isn't a match, like Jeff, who wanted to help his wife Tracy, whose family has a history of kidney failure.
In a roundabout way, I am kind of getting his.
Or Chris, whose kidneys failed from complications due to diabetes. His wife Stephanie was all in, pending assurances.
I want to make sure that he will get a kidney, like he will get the good match for him, then I'm all for it.
So was Renee Madden with end-stage renal failure, who was overwhelmed by the idea of the chain and the generosity of strangers.
I know his living donor came in to donate to their loved one. For some reason, they didn't match. Instead of going home with her or his kidney, they said, I still want to donate. And I was the next person on the list.
Renee is also an author of 3 books and now has an inspiration for a 4th.
A story of 8 people, many of them strangers, who came together to save 4 lives.
Gosh, I can't wait to read the book that Renee writes on this. This morning, we're going to hear the story straight from some of the people who lived it. We are joined via webcam we have April Nussin, and hopefully her friend Susan Bruff joins us in a moment. April got the kidney. We have husband and wife Jeff and Tracy Shearer, and another married couple, Stephanie and Christopher Loveless. And we also have Renee Madden, the author, who also received a kidney in this chain. And last but certainly not least, the incredible person who started the entire chain, Daniel Pearson. Daniel, you're the first link in the chain because you made this monumental decision to just come in and donate a kidney to anyone who might need it. And Daniel, it's your altruistic donation that made this whole 8-person kidney chain possible. Also in the studio is Dr. Tim Schmidt. Dr. Schmidt is our transplant surgeon and director of transplantation here at the University of Kansas Health System. And we have Samantha Brenner, who goes by Sam. Sam is a longtime nurse and organ transplant coordinator with the health system. Clearly, you can tell from the panel we have here, it took an incredible level of coordination to make this all work. We are really happy to have everyone on the program this morning. Daniel, I want to start with you. What compelled you to donate your kidney?
Yeah, that's kind of surprised me. That's the most common question that I've heard since this all started. And I guess when I heard about, we all are aware of kidney donation as a possibility, but when I heard a podcast about how much it can impact someone's life, my initial reaction was, maybe I could do that. And what I didn't realize at the time is that maybe a lot of other people don't have that reaction. And there are a lot of ways of helping people that just are not on my radar, but this is one that just seemed like easy to at least inquire about. And so to me, it's important to, if there are other people out there that have that initial response of maybe, to take that seriously, because it seems to be less common than you may feel when you experience it yourself.
And clearly you're feeling great because you're already traveling. We should tell our viewers you're in the Dominican right now, the Dominican Republic joining us. What are you doing there?
I'm here for work. I work for an international nonprofit called Unbound, and part of my work requires travel to other countries where we have programs.
And you're already back in the saddle doing that. Nobody has a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if one day your remaining kidney starts to fail? Does that ever give you anxiety?
No, not really. I know that there's always that possibility, but there's always that possibility for anyone. And, I don't need this thing more than the duration of my life anyway. So the people who are in this chain had a particular need right now that's certain. There's no doubt about that. And so to be a part of this and to be able to be a part of this sort of give and take where we're all trying to just help each other out was really a blessing. And I was grateful that all along the way, the people in the transplant center were very clear that this is my decision. In fact, I started the process several years ago and got pretty far down the line. And then my wife and I decided that it wasn't the right time for us. We wanted to wait until our kids were a little older, a little more independent. And I kind of didn't think about it for a while. And then when I came back to it, just got great support and all the way through the process.
So how do you get that process going? You make the decision you want to do something like this. Who's the first call that you placed to?
Yeah, I initially did, some research to look at the different options in the region and across the country, and saw that KU was really had strength in transplant operations. And so I started there, just reached out and said I might be interested, had a talk, started doing some testing. And all along the way, it was very clear that this is my decision, no pressure at all. When I decided to hold back and wait a few years, that was just fine. And so each step of the way, I learned more, and I felt more confident that this was going to be a safe process, and that in the event that I might need a kidney later on or might have kidney problems, that I would be on the list for transplant to receive someone else's donation.
Sam, as a transplant coordinator, this is what you do. It's filled with so many hurdles, though, getting an organ. Have you ever heard of an 8-link kidney chain, an 8-person?
Yes, we have done 8-person kidney chain before. We've actually done a 10-person kidney chain. 2018 January was the first kidney chain here in the Kansas City area that we did.
So it took me a little bit to grasp the concept because I hadn't heard of a kidney chain either. Can you explain to viewers who still aren't quite seeing it in their mind how a kidney chain works?
Yeah, so we often have pairs that are not compatible, like the 3 here that could not donate to the person that they wanted to. And then we have this magical piece that comes along, like Daniel, and we're able to kind of exchange kidneys and get everyone transplanted. And then at the end, we can pull someone from the list to end the chain.
What determines a good match when you're looking for one?
It's actually not as hard usually as people think it is with the medications we have today. Of course, they have to be blood type compatible, and then size can be an issue too, but it's not really as hard as people think it is.
Dr. Schmidt, as the surgeon, When you hear there's an altruistic donor like Daniel who has come forward to make this all possible, how does that feel?
It's kind of interesting to listen to Daniel talk, saying, I thought everybody would think like this, and I was like, I wish everybody would think like this, that we could donate a kidney, because it's not common. His ability to want to donate is special, and we see it maybe 3 times a year, sometimes 3 or 4.
I feel like, honestly, with social media and podcasts, it's becoming more popular.
Nice.
I mean, not more popular, but more of a common thing, and more people are finding out about it.
The more you know.
Yeah, the more you know, the more stories like this get out there, the more people are willing to maybe have that inclination to donate, to give, to to say, look, somebody else needs my kidney now. I don't need it. Somebody else can have it. It's awesome.
Gosh, we hear so much about the damage of social media, but if you can share this story, our viewers, if you're watching right now, please share this episode with your friends, because this has been remarkable. And these surgeries had to happen rather quickly. How spaced out between each operation do you have to wait?
I think we did these in 3 days. We did a Monday, we did 1 case, Tuesday 2 cases, and then on a Wednesday we did the last case. And so we did them within the 72 hours, I guess.
How long does each operation take?
The donation starts typically and then takes about 2.5 hours. We'll time our implant to start a little bit after the donation, and that takes about another 2.5 hours. So total operation for the day staggered is about 4 or 5 hours.
And you did all of these surgeries?
I did all the implants, and Dr. Coomer did all the donations.
Right.
And so you can see in the room, there was that one where he's bringing the kidney to me, I prepared, and then I take it to the next room, and we implant it, and then right over the next room.
It's so cool. Working here, we've had the chance to see you in action in the surgery room. It's remarkable. Now, Daniel, you and the other 7 people in this kidney chain recently had the chance to meet each other in person. What did that experience feel like?
It was great to meet everyone and kind of feel a part of this community where we're all giving and taking, trying to be there for each other in time of need. That's what it's all about, really.
So at what point was this the first time everybody realized whose kidney that they have, this meeting that we're looking at right now?
Yes. Yeah, it was the first time I had met anyone from the chain, and the first time that we kind of all understood the line of whose kidney went where.
When you walked into the room, did you get a standing ovation, or like a professional wrestler walking into the ring? Everybody cheered?
No, it's just a piece of a bigger puzzle. All these other couples and people that wanted to give, and that's so frustrating to see a loved one who has a need right now, and you want to help, and because of chemistry, you can't do it. And so that's really what I enjoyed being a part of, was connecting with all these other people who were also there to be there for their loved ones in a time of need.
Gosh, you're a good ambassador for this. Such a great spokesperson. And I want to turn to our other guests who are joining us now. The other links in this chain. And if you're watching live, feel free to send any questions or comments or thoughts you have to the chat on YouTube or the chat on Facebook, or you can email the Medical News Network. The information on how to connect with us in real time is on the screen right now. I want to bring in April. April, you and your best friend Susan were part of this chain. Hopefully Susan can join us in a bit. Now, April, are you driving right now, or did you pull over?
No, I'm in my son's school parking lot.
You'll be there a while then. Any parent knows that.
Yeah.
When you were back in the hospital, I talked to you right before the surgery, but you were back in the hospital just a few days ago. How are you feeling, and what happened?
I feel fine. They just did a kidney biopsy to make sure my meds and stuff are working right. It's functioning, but it's not functioning at a level that they would like. So, but it all came back fine. So I think they think it's just going to be down to a med change.
So Dr. Schmidt, is this common?
Yeah, we like to watch the kidney function really early on, make sure everything is working right, because if something were to happen, it's easier to fix it early rather than later. So labs, visits, biopsies, and I'm sure the patients will tell you, these guys can say, we are at the hospital a lot just to check the labs and make sure everything's going well, and that's why we do it, just to try to get everything as good as possible.
It's not like putting on a shoe where it instantly is just perfect. You get to know you get to know the patients as you work to make it happen, right, Sam?
Yes. Yeah, very well. Usually the donors I get to know very well. I taught Mr. Shearer to use his email frequently. So yeah, we spend a lot of time together.
April, backing up to before your transplant, how did you realize that your kidneys were failing?
I actually went into AFib, and I went to the hospital. I went to the ER, and they said, well, yeah, you're in AFib, and not only that, but you're in kidney failure. Your kidneys are at 3%.
So how long?
And then from then
Go on.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, and then from there, it was like they put in my PD port, and I went in on a Wednesday, got out on a Friday, and started dialysis that Monday.
Oh my gosh. So your kidneys were at 3%?
Correct.
Man, you must have felt miserable. After you got your new kidney, how quickly did you feel like you were back to normal?
Instantly.
Wow.
Literally instantly. I mean, I felt 100% better.
So you open your eyes from major surgery and you feel 100% better than when you went in?
Yes.
That's remarkable. I want to turn to Chris and Stephanie Lovelace. Chris, type 1 diabetes was really taking its toll on your kidneys. Is that what led to you needing a transplant?
Yes, it was my kidneys failed over about 20 years. So it was a very slow process, and we knew it was going to happen, but they gave me medication to prolong it, but it was a 20-year process. It wasn't, and so that's basically what happens when you've been a diabetic for 50 years, type 1 diabetic, 50 years.
And Stephanie, what changes have you noticed in your husband since his transplant?
A lot. It's like night and day.
Same thing. He
Even
woke
his
up.
energy. Even his energy is way that it's coming back. Because before, he just come home from work and then sit and then sleep. Like there's like nothing at all. He just want to sleep. But now he want to go somewhere. It's good there.
You got your hugs
It's
back.
really good.
What about your recovery, Stephanie? Because you also you had major surgery. You donated your kidney to someone else in this chain.
Yeah. It was okay. It was not bad at all. I have a lot of pain at one time. I think there's air somewhere, but we went away in 2 days, so.
Well, that's not bad. So
but
2 days.
is there. That pain that like somebody punched you or something. Every time you move, it hurts. But that one went away in 2 days, so that was good. That's the only really bad one that I experienced.
2 days of pain, and you give someone another shot at living. Want to go to our next two links. We have Jeff and Tracy Shearer. Now, Tracy, before the transplant, how long had you been living with kidney problems, and how were they affecting your everyday life?
I first started having kidney problems probably when I was pregnant with my daughter, and she came early, about 7.5 weeks early, and I was told just to keep checking in with my nephrologist that they had referred me to while I was pregnant. And that was 35 years ago. And probably just the last 7 years, my numbers had really started falling. So they fell below what they wanted them to be. And I started the process of getting on the transplant list and getting approved.
Jeff, as Tracy's husband, it's obviously unbelievably stressful and painful to watch your wife decline. You step forward, say you want to donate your kidney, then you find out you're not a match. That must have been a gut punch as well.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking not to be able to help somebody, direct, and just feel helpless.
So how quickly between finding out you're not a match and then finding out, well, we've got another match as long as you give your kidney to someone else?
Well, there's a little bit of story behind it, because she fell below 20 on that GFR one time before, and so it put her on the list, and it seemed like it was like a week later that they were going to do a chain on us. Well, in between that time, she had tested again and she tested above a 20, so it threw us out of the deal for like another year or so. And she came back with another test at 18, so it put us right back in there again. And it seemed like, again, it was like a week or two. I know it wasn't that quick, but it was really quick. And we're pretty fortunate that we got in on this. We were real fortunate that we got in on this so early.
Talk about ups and downs, the range of emotions all these people have been feeling. And I can't forget to get to Renee, sweet Renee, who's our author of the group. Renee, you were on the transplant list. You were waiting. You were looking for a deceased donor because there was nobody in your life who could donate. What was life on the waiting list like for you?
I felt I was a little anxious at times about it, but it seemed to go so quickly once I was on the list that it became a little overwhelming. The thought of even being on the list, first of all, I didn't know it because my nurses knew at dialysis before I did, of course, and they assumed that I knew. And so when I found out, it was really kind of a surprise. And I got an offer, it seems like maybe 3 to 4 months after I was on the list, but it didn't work out. And then, okay, well, I originally thought that I would get an offer in 2 to 3 years. I had no idea that I would get an offer so quick. So after the first offer, another month and a half went by, and then I got the good offer. So
yeah, you got the match. Who's
yes, I got the match.
There's someone trying to come into the screen with you. Who is that next to you?
My grandson.
Oh. How old is he?
Age. He'll be 2 this month.
Oh my gosh.
Say hi. Say hi.
You guys,
he's not going to say hi.
That's what it's all about. Renee gets to be with her grandson, gets to keep writing her books. When we talked to you before the surgery, it gives me goosebumps now because when we met you, you were still stunned. You just were stunned at the turn of events. When you learned that all this began because of someone like Daniel, how did that feel in your heart to know that that's what started this whole thing?
It was hard for me to comprehend at first. And then I was just very happy. I felt very grateful. I was very hopeful, just very happy that someone would do something like that. And I couldn't help but to think about myself and how I should be a better human, because that's not something that you just automatically think about, giving someone your organs. But these people have taught me that that's a good thing to do. It's such a selfless act. So I was overcome with joy on it.
Man, Sam, this is so amazing to see all these people looking so good. I mean, Renee, when I first met Renee, it was before her surgery. She looks like a whole different person. She's just bursting with life. You all look fantastic. Sam, in your line of work, how special is it? You said only 3 times a year an altruistic donor comes forward?
I feel like more people are coming forward. I can think of at least 4 people so far this year that have donated altruistically.
4 this year?
That I can think of right now.
We want to get to some of our questions coming in from our viewers, and we are already getting some. So let me just start down the chain here. Wow, we have a lot of them. Okay. Yen Liang wants to know, could you please tell me if a kidney transplant recipient needs to have their original kidneys removed? Additionally, when the new kidney is transplanted, is it necessary to also transplant a healthy ureter? Is it ureter?
Yeah.
From the donor to the recipient? First of all, explain what a ureter is, and then what do you do with the third bum kidney?
We typically don't need to take out the 2 native kidneys. They typically will just continue to function a little bit or shrink away and become just really non-functional.
They just atrophy?
Yeah, it's a bigger operation to take them out, so it's less invasive for us to just put the kidney in and not do anything with the kidneys, unless there's a problem with them, which is probably maybe 1 to 2% of the time we would have to take the kidneys out. And the ureter is just plumbing. The kidneys does the functioning, makes the urine, and the ureter is the tube that drains from the kidney into the bladder. So it's part of the kidney. We use a part of it.
So you leave it in there too? You leave
we
the
take
original?
a part of the ureter with the kidney and then implant that into the bladder.
Stu has a question. Stu writes, did April say that her friend had to lose weight and stop smoking? Yes. Susan had to lose weight and stop smoking. But April, Stu wants to know, what was it like watching your best friend do that?
Well, to be quite honest, I didn't even know. I knew she wanted to donate, and she'd went in and they told her she had to quit smoking and lose weight, but she never told me that she was working on it. And we don't live that far apart. We talk on the phone all the time, but we don't see each other, all the time. So when she's like, hey, I went back in, I've lost 70 pounds, I quit smoking cold turkey, I was like, what? It was, Right. So I had no idea. I knew she was working on losing weight, but she never told me it was for the donation.
That's wild. When I remember when I interviewed both of you, Susan, I asked Susan, because she'd been a lifelong smoker, I said, Susan, was it hard? And she said, nope. Found out I needed to do that, and I never touched another cigarette, and I started eating all my vegetables. It was like, once she knew. It was so cool. Jean has a question. Jean wants to know, when your kidneys are at 3%, what are the readings you get on your blood tests? Dr. Schmidt?
Probably electrolyte abnormalities. The GFR is probably the number they're looking at. It's a measure of how your kidney is functioning. Should be anywhere from 100 to 120, but hers was obviously low at 3%. And people can have fluid overload, probably led to the AFib because the heart was too swollen. Electrolyte abnormalities, fatigue, swelling. There's just so many things that can go wrong when your kidneys don't work.
Right, and at 3%. Sam, a question for you from Jeremy. How does a kidney transplant work when it comes to insurance for the person donating the kidney?
So when a donor comes forward, we ask them not to present their insurance information. Everything that they do for the donation, any testing we ask them to do, would be covered by the recipient's insurance.
Okay.
So they do not have to pay for anything. Of course, things to consider are, time off work, if they have, paid time off, travel. There is benefits sometimes that help donors with traveling and lodging and things like that. But definitely a lot to consider. So hopefully financial isn't one of them.
Right. At least they're already donating an organ. At least they don't have to haggle with insurance over that. This is such a cool discussion. Wish it could go on for another 3 hours, but let's get to today's takeaways. April, what do you want people watching this to know?
I think just to know that you can donate a kidney and still be just fine. And just like Daniel did, it created this 8-person chain that, 4 people ended up with kidneys, all because of his selfless donation. Along with my friend Susan, because without her too, I wouldn't have been on the paired donation list. So.
Yeah. Stephanie, in your wildest dreams, did you ever envision that you would be part of something like this?
Never. I never really thought that I would be in this situation. But, you know, if I have and more kidney, I can give it away again.
if you had another to give, you know, we won't ask you. Hopefully you don't have to do that again. Chris, has your outlook on life shifted after this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. It's night and day. It's the next morning when they came in to visit me. Mine was on Tuesday. She was going to donate on Wednesday. So the next morning when they came in to see me before her operation, they said, your color is different. My eyes are different. I sounded different when I spoke. It was just night and day. And now we just got back from Tennessee visiting one of the grandkids. So, I mean, we're virtually back to normal, you know.
Oh my gosh.
It's just, it's just, you know, and that's the thing. For me, it's like now I have a responsibility to take care of what I have. You know, we got alarms, we take the medication, exactly, you know. So it has been truly a gift.
What a full life we are all witnessing. We have a mom in the pickup line, a couple that just got back from a road trip visiting their grandkids. Daniel's in the Dominican, Renee's writing a book. I mean, this is just incredible. Tracy, what's your message to people watching?
Kind of like Daniel and April said, it doesn't cost anything to give. And my goodness, you're helping at least one person, maybe more, 4, 5, 6. What a wonderful thing. I can't think of anything better. Anything.
Jeff, what would you want to say to someone watching that is still on the fence and that is really nervous about having this kind of a surgery?
Well, I know the people at KU are great. Every one of them we've met there was fantastic, especially Samantha. She helped so much through everything. But I mean, you gotta think outside of how many people you can possibly help with this, with just one donation. You can start this chain to help 10 is what they said they did before. That's incredible.
Renee, gotta ask, have you started writing that book yet?
I am working on some books, but actually the true life story of everything that's happening to me is going to wait for a while.
Yeah.
I'm writing some other speculative fiction books right now, and I will write my story when I'm finished with those.
Yeah, and your story is still
It's
happening.
going to be harder to work. Yeah. I'm sorry?
I said your story is still happening because of Daniel.
Yes, exactly.
Who started this whole chain. So I do want to get to Daniel right now. Daniel, you're such a good ambassador. Most people don't get the chance to see all the people affected by a single act of kindness or generosity in any way. But here you are, and you're seeing it all in real time. What does that feel like to you?
It feels wonderful. And I would just really encourage anyone who feels like maybe you're interested to find out more, to learn more about it, because it's not a decision you have to make all at once. Just learn a little more. If you've got that inclination, follow it up, because so many people can benefit. These great people who have so much ahead of them and so much to live for. We need to be there for each other and make sure that we all get to live our lives to the fullest.
And Sam, Daniel has such a good point. This isn't something you have to decide and 5 minutes later you make the call. Daniel, this was a years-long journey.
Yeah, we provide a lot of education. It's up to the patient. We don't pressure them at all. We put them through a lot of testing to make sure that this is even something that they should do. Mm-hmm. So definitely not something that just happens overnight.
And Dr. Schmidt, as our transplant surgeon who was involved and did all of these surgeries, what's your final message to our viewers and to them?
I think everybody needs to just remember that donation is the key. We have 90,000 people on a kidney list, and 12 people die each day in the nation for waiting for a list, and this is still my favorite operation, the kidney transplant, because I feel like maybe a fly on the wall, or the kid at the back of the dance just watching everybody else have a good time, because we get to facilitate the gift and see how the outcome is, which is fantastic. So this is nice to see.
Beautiful.
And I encourage donation. Daniel, thank you very much for what you did, and I hope everybody else does too.
Thank you so much to all of our guests for joining us to share this incredible journey. Thank you to Sam and Dr. Schmidt for your time and for everything you do. We are thrilled that everybody here is doing so well, and thanks for joining the conversation.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and open mics with Dr. Stites podcast. Now everywhere podcasts are available.